a lot less of it in my classes. And then just sort of see what that was all about.
Hello, I'm Nina. And I joined the team because, like Nicole said, there was just like a lot of guys in my class. And I was like, it's really nice.
And my name is Nicole. I'm engineering faculty at Chandler Community College. Just to put this in perspective, these young ladies who have agreed to basically start up the first affiliate of SWE in Arizona, and we're going to take that on at Chandler Gilbert Community College. So once we make application, the end of November, we will be the first affiliate SWE chapter of any of the community colleges in the state. So, and these will be some of our charter members. So thank you so much for inviting us, and we look forward to being in partnership with you as we move forward with our affiliate.
Thank you guys for coming. I'm really excited. And this is our other guest. Do you want to introduce yourself? Sorry, hi. I'm Melissa. Hi, thank you so much for coming. So, yeah, if you just want to introduce yourself, and then we'll do our activity. And then, so, hi, good evening. I am so excited to see a room full of women. More than I expected. Thank you so much for inviting me. My name is Jody Hortnauer, and I work at Intel down the street. I've been an engineer at Intel for 37 years. So I graduated from high school. I went to Northern Arizona University for undergrad. Graduated with a dual major in mechanical and electrical engineering, and that's really Intel. And this was like back in 1982 when I was a female in my graduating class. So our school meetings were a lot fun. I am also a citizen of a Fond du Lac band of Lake Superior, Ojibwe. So I'm Native American. Very proud of that. 4 children, and 2 of them went to ASU. I also did an MBA at WP Carey here. So. And very excited about our topic. So hoping for a lot of good discussion. Awesome. Thank you. So thanks. And this is my friend Zach, if you guys. Do they call you professor?
I don't know.
Normally professor, right? Okay. Yeah, we work together in this house. So, would you like also to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Seth Abraham. I'm teaching some classes in electrical engineering for the last 2 years, I guess. Before that, I was at Intel for just shy of 19 years, where I met Jeffrey. And before that, I was actually at Purdue University for a while. So that's my story. And so when I learned that you guys look for speakers, I knew an excellent one. So that's how Jody ended up here today.
So yeah, we'll just walk through the activity. So just some background, it's actually a really cool card set from SWE National that talks about diversity and inclusion in engineering, and is a really good way of platforming the topic, since it can be something that's intimidating to talk about, or there's like different biases or stereotypes towards those 2 words. So today we're just going to kind of work to answer some different questions. There's different themed cards. So there's demographics, experience, evidence, science, and best practices. So we should have evenly distributed the cards, and then you guys can kind of read over them. They're kind of long, so we'll give you a bit of time to read over them and then discuss it as a table. And then if you're at a smaller table and you want to pair up with a bigger one, you can do that. And then we'll talk, we'll like have 2 tables talk. And then we'll talk as like a whole group. So just to kind of give you time to get your ideas together. And then at the end, we'll answer some questions as like a kind of group discussion so that we can have a conversation about this. So if you want to go ahead and work through that, some of the questions that I thought were ones that we can answer through these card sets are: how do diversity and inclusion differ? What is unconscious bias? What is the difference between cultural awareness and cultural competency? And what can I do to promote inclusion? So if you guys want to do that first part of looking at your own cards or the cards that are at your table and discussing with your table, and then probably about 10 minutes we'll switch and you guys can talk to another table, and then in about 5 minutes after that we'll talk to the whole group. Any questions? Awesome. Thank you.
The results of the Implicit Association test contrast sharply with what people said about themselves, that they have no biases. The test also revealed that minorities internalize the same biases as majority groups. The test measures the operating culture on our
You guys should try taking it.
Project Implicit is a multi-university research group that focuses on the use of online associations by IAT. GIAT measures respondent rate of association with concepts and concepts. For example, positive or negative attitudes. The test is available online at implicit.harvard.edu. According to the research, IAG the premise is designed to help work with businesses
Yeah, so once in we list activities that we're going to image flash in front of you. No credit. So that's that basically signifies the rate at which all of that. I mean, you're associated with words. And everyone will have yeah, but faces that look ethnically white versus faces that look ethnically ambiguous. And then it's measuring the speed at which you care, you basically respond with the side. But as you continue to play this game, you do get faster at doing the correct parry. So that's the big critique of it, is that you catch on to trends. Our brain catches on to trends. Yeah, they're trying to measure trends. Well, they're trying to measure that timing that indicates bias. Some of them are pretty. It's really outlined because they have 7. They've done it. And like I said, some of them are root associations, some of them are base associations. Like I'm thinking like chart associations, so not like picture associations. That's very interesting stuff. Really fast, but there's plenty of games out there that are like that, like like the color of the board, not the color that is written out the board, right? And we catch on to those trends. As we practice, we catch on to those trends. So the data gets skewed. We do the same thing with this game, but at least at the onset, that time makes it pretty accurate. That's fair. Super fair. Especially since I just have to feel like we can keep seeing what's happening. I think it was actually having well-staffed HR and a lot of HR so there's not the givers. And Let's hear more about that.
By the way, you mentioned when the pregnancy. Yeah, I think Yeah, you edited. Our advice is to not go in with okay, I meant to say. I know you're trying to you just reminded me. I don't think I know, but some people sign their life away. I'm not trying to sign my life away. I'm just there's no way I can.
In whatever direction that is. There's a lot of different, but it's like someone investigates.
We'll do that for about 5 minutes, and then we'll kind of do the dramatic style together. So in about 5 minutes, we'll do station. I know, again, that's to be the president of like rating. That's what that part is. And this is successful. All of them actually that way, like the management track and electrical engineering division. And then social supply chain and other things. That would be one option. Another option would be subject matter experts, technical experience, like they call it. I just call it the technical track, it's not the management track. But you essentially become a technical expert there, and then you could pivot to being a management, like in the same department. Okay. You don't have to have that technical experience beforehand, but consider to be two separate tracks. It's more of a one-on-one Conversation or like topics that they want
I just took a test. I literally came from the crying, so I'm sorry.
I don't know, yeah. So, like, at our table, so at our table, Kylie and I were just talking about how, so I mentioned, like, for the first time, in this, like, big I, after having a conversation where I was like, oh, like, should I start asking people about, like, and then she was talking about how, like, in the workplace, like, Rachel mentioned, like, in the workplace, it must be, like, so intimidating to say that to, like, a superior, like, if you have those preferences of, like, I don't want to be spoken to, so.
Does anybody have any like comments or thoughts on that? I think that's interesting too because for one of the Fulton Ambassadors training, they had the Sun Devil civility reps come in, and they were talking about unconscious bias versus implicit bias, and kind of the difference between the two. So it's interesting how sometimes you may not even think that you're, or like recognize that you're being biased by maybe not asking those kinds of questions, but sometimes other people can perceive it that way.
I also want to like throw out along the lines of unconscious bias, just what I've encountered, at least in my internships, is just a complete, and again, it's not like malicious in any way, I wouldn't call it sexist, but like an unawareness of things that might be different for women. So like I work in a clean room and you're not allowed to wear makeup in a clean room. And so the first thing that I asked my supervisor was about dress code because I wanted to know what I was supposed to be wearing to work. And he was like, oh yeah, we just wear polos and jeans. But something that someone who was more aware might have said, oh yeah, as a woman, you're not going to be, like, you might be wearing makeup. And saying this to anybody, even men, basically saying, hey, yeah, you're working in a clean room, here are the rules, you're not allowed to wear makeup, you're not allowed to wear colognes, things like that, and just making sure that that's something that you are aware of. And I think that's kind of where unconscious bias comes in too, is just almost unawareness of the issues around you.
It just has a question on it. The questions are on okay, it's not going. So does anybody have anything else, or do you want me to pull? At the back of the deck, it had some questions that once you read through all the cards, that it can, like, you can help answer some of these questions, or they're kind of discussions to start a conversation. Should we jump into those? Does anybody have like interesting like statistics or something from some of the cards? Yeah.
Our cards said that in Canada, in the United States, only 12% of the engineering workforce is women.
Total?
Yeah, total.
Canada and you?
No, like each.
Oh, each.
Yeah. It's only 12%.
Yeah.
I just wanted to like say like this feels like we talked a lot about a lot of like interesting things that I didn't think about. Like, so my card had to do with why do women leave engineering, and the fact is that 52% of highly qualified women working for SET companies quit their jobs driven out by hostile work environments and extreme job pressures. And one of the other primary reasons they're definitely like driven out is because of this systems linking reward risk. And it was interesting to hear their thoughts on how like women are in society aren't like, I guess like we think things through, right? We don't like take big risks unless it's like absolutely necessary and we know all the outcomes, versus like there's that huge like thing in business corporate America that will like say bigger risks means bigger rewards, and women are more likely to take those because especially if they're in a hostile environment in the first place, like they're not going to risk that. So that's like really interesting to hear both your thoughts on that. So
I had a really good experience at Gear Day last year related to that. And we had a parents lounge. It was awesome. And the parents, we taught the parents about like how to raise their children to be excited about things.
Yeah, it was
and
how to raise their kids.
Yeah, it was a really good conversation about like how do you support your child and like get them excited about STEM. And one of the like I think she was a high schooler came in and she was talking to her mom in the break while I was there, and she said we were like, oh hey, you want to be an engineer, right? She's like, oh, I don't think I'm good enough at math. And her mom was like, you had a B+ in math, like, and so it was really interesting to see like that thought process of like she weeded herself out because she thought that she wasn't good enough, because she thought through all of the outcomes and she said, oh, I don't think I'm good enough. And it was just really empowering to like get to talk to her and be like, you don't have to be amazing at math to be an engineer. And so, yeah.
I think one of the other cool things that I had a mentor at my past internship that she like requested a meeting with all of the female interns, which I thought was cool in and of itself. And then we had like a 2-hour-long discussion with her about some of the things that we had seen since we got into the company, some of the things we've seen in like our academic career. And she brought up a good point that sometimes it can be us looking for biases that may not be there. And so she brought up a really good point of like not pointing fingers, but taking like a step back sometimes in situations and seeing how you can respond to diffuse the situation, or how you can respond and take steps to be more inclusive. So for example, like one of my coworkers had like a teammate that wasn't really like being very accepting of the thought she was providing because she was a female or she was an intern or whatever reason that they had. And we like worked through ideas of how she can be more proactive in the situation, knowing that there's that bias, or trying not to pay as much attention to it so it wasn't as like distracting to her work environment. And I thought it was really interesting to see like how much power we actually have over our perception and how that can change your like enjoyment and like happiness of the engineering to kind of decrease your likelihood.
What were some of the things that she recommended?
She recommended like not discounting yourself before you walk into a room, and not saying sorry as much. So the not saying sorry one as much was really interesting for me, because she was like, if you turned your thing into your boss and your boss didn't get it back to you and someone asks you, where is this? And you say, I'm so sorry, I don't have it. It's not actually your fault. You're not actually sorry. You did everything that you were supposed to do on time. So phrasing it in like a more assertive way, but assertive doesn't have to correlate to bitchiness, which is I think another thing that she mentioned that was really like powerful. And maybe Jody, you kind of nodding, maybe you have something that could speak to that as well. But she said like changing the way you speak so you're not as apologetic, but instead being like, thank you so much for your patience, or yes, we're just waiting on some details. And that doesn't mean you have to throw someone under the bus if it's not your fault, but being able to not start now with I apologize or I'm sorry. Yeah.
Each year in this country, more than 2 million professionals and managers in today's increasingly diverse workforce leave their jobs, pushed down by cumulative small comments, whispered jokes, and not so pleasant emails. Unfairness costs U.S. employers $64 billion on an annual basis. So things like taking those tips on like not being so apologetic and making sure that you're not negatively assuming someone's negative intent, but taking that step back and understanding the whole situation to help people get like not push them.
And we, some of the female interns and I kind of started working together, and we would send emails to be proofread. Like if it was something that was maybe not an email you were thrilled to send out, so if you saw that there's like emotional frustration there, I would send it to one of my like coworkers first. There was also a female intern, and she would be able to like tell me, you're sounding way too apologetic. Why are you sorry in this situation? And like if you are actually sorry, then that's different. You can apologize if you're actually sorry. But we like held each other accountable, and it was funny because we all carpooled together, and you would notice even just in like day-to-day language of how often we say I'm sorry, and we would like yell at each other basically to kind of like become like you don't realize how much you're doing it until someone like helps point it out to you. So that's one of the other things she recommended is like finding someone that can help hold you accountable for not making it as big of a, not letting it build up. Yeah, don't make me be a teacher. We can, yeah.
I've also covered like disability bias within engineering, and how like having mental or physical or was it communicational disability like automatically puts you at a disadvantage because people have like an unconscious bias.
I actually have like a question that was related to like disabilities. So sometimes I see people like for whatever reason they like walk differently just because they're born with like a disability, or I guess that's not even like a fair word to like describe it, but just like a health condition or something that makes them walk differently or wheelchair bound, something like that. And I'm honestly just well, one more time.
Differently.
Yeah, it's differently abled. I like that. And I'm genuinely curious, but I feel bad when I like want to ask what happened just so I can be more aware. Because it's not like everyone was born with like 2 legs and can walk perfectly. So I like want to know more because I can't just like in my head like Wikipedia or whatever like know exactly what they were born with. But I don't know how to do it in a way where it's like insensitive, or like if like you're holding the door open for someone and like they're perfectly capable of doing it, but like have you ever had someone like get mildly offended that you do that? You know what I mean? Because I know that like not one person can speak for like the entire community, but I just want to be more aware of like little ways that I can just like treat them like normal people, but at the same time just like learn more about them.
It's hard because like some people are uncomfortable just talking about like anything personal like that. So it's like it's not like it's difficult because a lot of times like there are things that like people say that don't come up, like they don't intend for it to be offensive, but just in
like people are uncomfortable talking about things in certain situations. And then there are people that aren't uncomfortable at all. And like some people enjoy being asked because then they can talk about themselves. And everyone loves talking about themselves. So yeah, no, I agree completely.
I think it stems from when you treat them the same way you treat someone who is more able-bodied. Treating them as you treat them as the other. And if you do want to ask them why, I would say maybe become their friend, get to know them better, and then you can ask that personal question instead of just being like, I just wonder what happened and what's wrong. And I think like making more friends, treating them like as you treat everyone else, I think that'd be a good start. So I have a thought that I'm sure that it's always been my opinion that we all, if you have a friend, you have fun. We all came here with a background, with an upbringing, and because of that, you have a way to think about things. So everyone has it. So it's not like one person's bias is worse than another. The most important thing you can do is be fair. Just be self-aware. Question yourself and question your responses, your interactions, the things you do to encourage people. So let me ask you, what does diversity mean to you? What does diversity mean? I mean, look around the room. Look at all the different faces. You know? I just want to give you guys something to think about. The way I like to think about it is kind of three different things: diversity, inclusion, and belonging. And one of my favorite ways to draw an analogy on this is diversity is being asked and danced. Inclusion is being asked to dance. And belonging is when you know all the songs. And there's something that happens when you feel like you belong. And I heard you guys touch on it. It's this psychological safety that really lets you be who you are. You know, lets you feel safe in an environment to take risks, to say things that you may not usually say, to voice an opinion, to disagree with somebody, but in a respectful way because you created an environment that you felt safe in. And I think that anywhere, whether it's in a class or with your friends on the weekends or at work, you can have kind of, my card was, who are your people? You can have your people that you've worked to create this chemistry with. When inclusion really works, man, you get a better answer because everyone's coming at solving a problem using their knowledge, their experience, their background, and you're quickly vetting, all the different inputs to just keep building and making things better. And I think you can take that to any situation. So to me, I want you to think about how do you create an environment to get voices heard. If we're sitting here and there's someone that we haven't heard from yet, and we say, hey, what's your thought on that? Draw someone in. Or what we like to call them at Intel,
green light questions. If you're having a conversation with someone, if you start a question with, hey, why didn't you get a very different answer than, help me understand, why, or we phrase these things. How do you phrase a conversation or in a room where you're actually really looking out for and making sure everybody's voice is heard? How do you be an ally to that person sitting next to you? So if you're in a team meeting and someone's getting maybe a lot of attention, attacked a little bit, someone jumps in and says, hey, I really agree with what they're saying, and be an ally for somebody. Those are, to me, important things to think about when you're meeting. I'd love to. So green light questions are things like, can you give an example? Or, that's a great point, Seth. What about this? That way you can or if someone asks you, say, I have what else? Or a really good one. And what I think you're saying is this, that I get that. So you're acknowledging that's a great point. How can that be applied to what we're talking about here? So there's also tips on writing and even tips on how you one of the words I like to use all the time. I don't like to use guys. I get called guys all the time. And I turn to them. So I always yeah, I love y'all. I like that.
We're like staff member here. And people mistake her from being from Texas because she uses the word y'all in her speech pattern, and she's from New Jersey. But she tries to use inclusive language all the time, so she says y'all. So I just always think that's funny because people are always like, "You're from Texas," and she's like, "No, New Jersey."
You know, like 48 y'alls in like a 5-minute speech or something.
Yeah. But I mean, when she's speaking in front of a large group of people, there's never any misunderstanding as to who she's referring to. That's just everybody come what you meant.
I learned that Girl of y'all is called.
Yeah. I did that. I talked to them that over there. I was just talking about, I was like, y'all or all of y'all.
There's, I actually think, I'm a coach for leadership classes. And we have, just in a, especially in environments where, we have different types of personalities, a lot of times a lot of people, and you have to have a way to acknowledge their and draw in other folks. One of the things, I don't know what this, technique that we use is called, but we don't, a lot of times we don't do the brainstorming that has people shouting out things and writing, someone writes down on the whiteboard. Instead, what we've been doing is giving everyone a couple of free index cards and having every person read by just quietly writing down their two or three ideas. So every person gets a chance for two or three ideas and it doesn't get found out, shied out by somebody else. And then you just lay them all on the table. Then you do this quick process of somebody reading them all out loud and using them in seconds. And then you go from there. And that way you get the opportunity to write get the notes.
These might even be helpful things to think about as we move forward into capstone groups. If you're not a senior yet or you're going to be a senior, I mean, that's your first real, like, big, long-term group project of 40 people. And that's, I was kind of thinking some of these things to keep in mind, because I don't know what my capstone group is going to look like, right? So I'm not sure what that's going to be, but trying to keep that in mind as I go forward to make sure my own voice doesn't get drowned out, but to also make sure that the group is as successful as possible, because it's just so important to me. A first group experience, not first, but maybe most significant in your college time, right? Before you move into right.
And I think that's part of why the leadership team and I agreed to have a contender meeting on diversity and inclusion, because obviously it's an issue, but we can sit here all day and talk about how it's an issue. But I wanted to focus a lot on different ways that we can change our own behavior to promote more inclusive atmospheres and more diversity within kind of the things that we're involved in. So not appreciate that we can make an impact too, and just kind of keeping some of these things in mind and keeping some of the statistics. I think the more conscious you are of it, the less you ever believe it. But it's 7, so we need to go. Great. We're kind of probably around. We can ask questions or if we have closing now.
We have a fancy
We actually reach for higher and we looked at how we could solve our and I was first introduced to it. There were so many like really awesome, and each one turned into like a really awesome opportunity. And he's running around. Because she is University of Houston researcher who focuses on community and being authentic. And I think that's something that community is so easy to do. And I like technical because we naturally always felt our capability. How many times have I come to you saying,
I want to figure out what you're doing.
ask these questions? No, it's because I really didn't. But I don't have, I
It took
think,
me a while to
I think
figure
it's
that out.
one of our superpowers that we are so okay with the and it helps you really just authentic. And it helps you be super okay with vulnerability and change. You know what? I grew up in home ec class, learning how to cook and sew. I didn't grow up learning anything about engineering. I didn't know, 10 times I think it's all thanks to my dad that I got here. I had no idea what but it ended up, you know, growing and so cool. Every experience is an opportunity to learn. But I use TED Talks, 15 minutes of inspiration to get some new ideas, practice things at work. What else do you think I can learn?
Please don't write those down. Please write them down. Because I'm not gonna remember that, but I want to remember that.
The slide.
So Liz is gonna write that down and put it in the slides.
She has a Netflix. I watched it before that. I told my husband not to.
That would be nice. Would you guys like that?
Yes.
Yes. You maybe guys think that would be
Yeah.
Perfect. That would be fun.
That's your Netflix.
So call the courage.
Call the courage.
Okay, I'm gonna include the link.
And,
But don't watch it, you watch it.
Yeah, I was gonna say. And you just watch it like, again. I know, and you know what? I still cry when I watch it. Right, well, I know.
No, we're gonna cry too.
Oh, yeah, no worries. But, it's just, someone saying the things out loud that you think in your head. And then realizing that people who live wholeheartedly, they've got certain things in common. They practice gratitude. You know, every morning they wake up and they try to treat themselves like you treat someone you love. And I use things that I learned from watching this when I interact, especially with me, especially with my big sisters. And when I'm feeling like, would you like to say that to you? Say that to me. And if you don't, you can have it yourself. The apologizing is the same thing. It's apologize for the things that really need to be apologized for. Don't just apologize. You did something, take ownership, be responsible for it. Apologize when you said it won't happen. But I get inspiration. Power pose. Oh, yeah, maybe Teddy. And they're all TED Talks.
Yeah, that'll be good. I'm just wondering. Thank you. I was thinking that if you want to like look at the project as a whole, since there's 26 cards, I want to say, and then there's like questions at the beginning and questions at the end. We can do like a library checkout where you can check the project out for like 2 days, and then we can pass it around. The link is also at the end of the PowerPoint presentation if you just want to buy your own deck. I think it's like $26. But we can like mark this reset, and then we'll just have like a check-in, check-out process if you guys want me to. That's what you want to do. Okay, I'll get that started then, and I'll make like a sign out. Okay. There's also lots of pizza in the back. Yes, please eat pizza. There is a Honeywell event on Monday. Don't forget, it'll be fun. There's Chick-fil-A. It's a conference prep event. Conference is coming up. If you're having a conference, cool. Don't forget to come on to our meeting on the 29th. If you have not already told me you are not coming, then you talk to me. Otherwise, I expect you to are. No, there's no RSVP as an excited for everyone to attend, but if you're not able to make it, that's fine.